That's a solid list.
We did it.
We did it. We got a great list, my friend.
Now what do we do with it? We can tell the world.
Yeah, we can tell the world.
Process of elimination.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Top 5s with Don Sill. I'm your host, Don Sill, and we got another great show in store for you today. It's the top 5 comedy duos of all time. Yes, comedy teams. You know, straight man, funny man, magic happens. And joining me today is the very hilarious Rich Walker. Rich is a funny stand-up comedian, but also has a history of being in comedy teams. Have you ever seen him do Who's On First?
You're the manager's baseball team.
Yes.
You claim to know all the baseball players.
Sure I do.
Well, then who's playing first?
Yes.
I mean, the fellow playing first.
Who?
The guy in first base.
Who?
The first baseman.
Who?
The fellow playing first.
Who is on first?
What are you asking me for? I'm asking you who's on first.
That's the man's name.
That's whose name?
Yes.
Well, then tell me.
That's it.
That's who?
Yes.
So please, everybody, subscribe, like, and comment below. We want to know what you're thinking, what your thoughts are, if you agree with us or disagree, and what your top 5 is. Let us know. But without further ado, let's get right to it. Me and Rich Walker with the top 5 comedy duos of all time. All right, Rich Walker, Long Island's own, very funny guy. How you doing, my friend?
I am here. How are you?
Doing
Thanks
good,
for having
man.
me on.
Yeah, this is awesome, man. I always love talking comedy with you. You obviously teach a class, stand-up university, but you also are an encyclopedia of comedic knowledge, and it's always a blast talking to you because I'm like a fellow comedy nerd as well, and yeah, it's always good talking to somebody who kind of knows more than me.
Well, it depends on what. Like, you knew that was your backdrop is the basement of the Wayne's World.
Right.
I didn't know. And I watch all the commercials.
See, that's I got one on you there. There you go. Today's top 5 is,
by the way, a great comedy team.
They are, yes, Wayne and Garth.
Swing, swing.
This is the top 5 comedy teams. Comedy duos basically go back to the beginnings of comedy, like the vaudevillian days. It was back then. It was relatively normal. It's not really normal now, but back then it was very normal to have a comedy team.
Yeah. In vaudeville, there was a lot of comedy teams. As a matter of fact, I'm sure we're going to go into this, but like the Who's On First was done by a lot of comedy teams. And it started out, as you probably know, as a husband and wife who did it. And I don't know their names. I forgot their names. But they were another comedy team. But it makes kind of sense. The wife didn't understand baseball, and he was explaining it. And then I had heard that it was Abbot and Costello actually got somebody to write, because it wasn't really stealing back then. They all did their own versions of it.
Right.
And they were the first to pay a guy $50 to actually sit down and write every base in there. You know what I mean? So, and they're like, I don't know how the other ones were, but I mean, they mastered it, right?
What's the guy's name on first base?
What's the guy's name on second base?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
I don't know.
He's on third. We're not talking about him.
A lot of people don't know that they didn't write that bit. That bit. Nobody. I don't. Until now, you saying it was a husband and wife team. I didn't think anybody knew who actually wrote it. Like, I just thought it was one of those kind of myths that just kind of floated around, and each team took it, added to it, and then finally Abbott and Costello, like you said, they owned it. No one could do it better than them.
Yes.
Tomorrow throws the ball, and the guy up bunts the ball.
Yes.
Now, when he bunts the ball, me being a good catcher, I want to throw the guy out at first base, so I pick up the ball and throw it to who?
Now that's the first thing you've said right.
I don't even know what I'm talking about.
If I could give a little thing about it, about a team and what's very important, there has to be somebody has to be the straight man, and that's very difficult. It's because there's a lot of egos, especially. That's why you don't see it a lot anymore. And not only that, you have to split the money. So, you know, when you're first starting out and you're going to get $100 to drive to Philadelphia, you're getting $50.
Right.
And it's very, very, very hard. Back then, I don't know. I think that the performers were paid a lot more. If you're rationing it out with today's pricing, because you're not making it today. I know that. So it's hard to be a team. But I was in Brooklyn. I was doing a show once in Brooklyn, and here's another thing. So Monty and I, he would take a punchline, I would take a punchline. He would take a punchline, and the jokes weren't really going over that good. And then I just by chance were working with a comedy team in Brooklyn, and I don't remember their names. One was like the Jerry Lewis, one was Dean Martin. They were older guys, and they've been around a long, very polished, and they did everything. They did impressions, they did this. And I said that me and this other guy do these two wacky cowboys, and we're having a problem. And they both go like this: stop. You can't have two wacky cowboys. Only one. The other one's got to be, the catalyst, the straight man.
Right, yeah.
That's when Rodeo Ricky was really born. And Rodeo Ricky wasn't stupid. Like, he would just have his own way of getting to the answer. Like, one of the jokes, old vaudeville joke, as a matter of fact, was he'll go, how you doing? I'm like, it was always not good. I'm not doing good. And, I was in that porta potty this morning. I accidentally dropped $5 right in the hole. And he goes, well, what did you do? I said, I threw $10 right down there after. And he said, why would you do that? I said, I ain't going down there for $5.
Nice.
So, but you see, he's not unintelligent. It's not stupid. Gracie Allen, Burns and Allen.
Yes.
Are they on your list?
They're on my list.
Yeah. She was no dope. I mean, she was really brilliantly smart. And there's a joke. She was out to dinner with Jack Benny, his wife, George, and her. And they said, Gracie, you never tell jokes in public. You never give us a joke. And she goes, nah, I don't like, at the table when the comics are together, they tell jokes. She goes, nah. And they go, come on, give one. And she goes, 2 Irishmen walk out of a bar. And they all just stared at her, and they're like, that is like really funny, But
brilliant. Yeah.
It's just really clever,
And that's the thing too. You talk about the straight man. A lot of people don't. To me, the straight man is almost like defense on a good team. People underestimate how important the defense is, and how the defense wins the games, right? And it's the same thing with the straight man. Without a great straight man, the comedy will fall flat because there's nobody to bounce it off of. There's nobody to react with that straight man type of vibe. And I think, and we'll get to all of these guys, but I think the greatest straight man of all time has to be Bud Abbott. Abbott was probably the greatest straight man of all time, and set the standard. Yeah.
And it's really hard to follow him. That was a 60-40 split, right? He got 60% of the cut, and Costello only got 40. Later in the years, they had a big fight, big breakup over a. Do you know the story about the breakup?
A little bit. I don't know much.
It was over a maid, and I think it was Bud Abbott had a maid, and then he let her go, and then Costello took her. But there's rumors really about the maid.
Right. There must have been more to it.
It must have been enough to have a war over.
Yeah, exactly.
They broke up, but then when they went back together, it was agreed it would be a 50-50 split, and then the history was written. So, but yeah, the reason why straight men actually got paid more money than the jokester, right? Ego. You got to do all those shows, and the guy that gets all the laughs get all the girls.
Right, he gets all the glory, the girls. Yeah. People are, it's the water cooler that they're talking about. What Costello said.
Yeah, they want their pictures taken with that guy.
Yeah, exactly. So it does have it can certainly weigh on the dynamic of the team, and that's why probably a lot of comedy teams don't always stand the test of time.
Right.
Just as I... What is this all about? What's the matter with you? I'm out all day long looking around for work. Do you ever go out and look for work?
Well, sorry,
Am I the only one that's going to do all the work around here?
I was working. I was reading a comic book.
Yeah, so now we're going to get into it. We're going to get into the top five comedy duos of all time. This goes all the way back to as far as you want, all the way to modern times. Which, today, this whoever you got in mind.
I'm looking forward. Yeah.
But let's kick it off, Rich. Who's your number five?
How about this is a comedy team, and it may be the last comedy team we've seen, especially husband and wife, Sonny and Cher.
Tell me about Sonny.
Remember?
Yes, I love the Sonny and Cher show.
For that show.
Oh, I grew up on it. I remember when the little Chaz would come running out.
That's right. Yeah.
And
Chastity back then.
Chastity, yes.
You want to show him your shirt? You know what it says on your shirt? What's it say?
So tell me a little bit about Sonny and Cher. What made you pick them as your number five?
Well, I had heard a rumor that today a husband and wife comedy team is a sitcom in 2 years because it's so unusual. And I always tell, there's one comedy team out there now, they actually took our class. Do you know the Bonavitas?
Not
Claudia
yet.
Bonavita and her husband, John. They're both actors by trade. She takes the comedy class, loves it, and she says, I want to come back to the class and take it with John, the husband, because he's an actor. And they went back and forth, and it was very funny, and he is the stooge husband, a little dopey, for the character.
Right.
And it was really good. Again, why didn't they continue it? I think they do it every now and then. You'll see them out there. They're Long Island comics.
You hate shopping.
My motto is get in, get out.
That's actually his motto in bed.
I don't know if he was that interested. I think he's more supportive of her being a comedian,
Right.
And again, he's an actor by trade. They're both actors and directors. They do a lot of the shows at Claire Rose Playhouse in Patchogue. But if you could ever see them, great. But Sonny and Cher, again, she was the gum-chewing, wisecracking Cher, and the husband was the idiot,
We went out on the road, and I got these sensational reviews on the road. I mean, Sonny Bono was fantastic in Vegas, super in New York, and dynamic in Los Angeles, and boring at home.
When you watch Sonny and Cher, especially back in the day, when they were coming up, they definitely had a good chemistry, like you said, where Sonny, like if you do compare them to Burns and Allen, where Sonny was kind of like the Gracie a little bit, and Cher was more of the smarter one, the straight man in a way, but she also had her vibe was just different than anybody else's. She was
an attitude. She had that
attitude.
Harry
Yeah.
Carabas, I don't give a crap attitude.
Yes.
Well, I had this marvelous kind of photographic memory, which incidentally I inherited from my mother. No, I did. Listen, you're the one that's always saying my mother has a fantastic memory. So what are you making of?
That's what I've said. An elephant never forgets.
And like you said about egos too, when you're married and you're playing the goofball like Sonny, you really need extra layer of thickness on your skin to deal with that, especially when she's the breakout and you're just the second banana of the team, so to speak.
That's right. Well, Burns and Allen, it was the other way around in vaudeville, right?
Right.
He was the stooge and she was the straight woman, and then I don't know what happened. I don't know the story behind it, but backstage she said, "Let's go out and try it in reverse," and it was huge. It was huge. That's when they became famous.
How is Hazel?
Oh, Hazel hasn't been very well. Her feet are killing her, so she's going to have glasses fitted.
Well, I'll go with my five. Yeah, so my number five pick is came out of the 60s, right around the civil rights era, and it was Tim and Tom. it was Tim Reed and Tom Dreesen.
I don't know Tim and Tom.
Yeah, it's Tom Dreesen when you first and Tim Reed from WKRP in Cincinnati. I think Tim Reed was on that show.
Yeah, of course I know Tim.
Yeah, so Tim and Tom were the first and only racially mixed comedy duo ever. There's never been one since them for whatever reason.
Right.
And they were the first of their kind. And what was great about them is they did come out in the 60s during the civil rights era, and they were able to connect audiences through their differences. So, they played off of it. Like, Tom would be like the clueless white guy and, not understanding that he was doing something offensive or, hey, what's up, brother? Like he would talk like that to try to get on Tim's good side, and Tim would be like, what are you doing, man? And Tim was more the straight man. So I always appreciated that. And I got to interview Tom Dreesen a while back, and it's one of the most things he's most proud of is that comedy team and what that meant in that time period.
Hey, baby. Oh, look here, Leroy. Do the bus stop here. What do you think this is, Amos and Andy?
I remember seeing them. I saw them quite a few times on TV. I wonder if, I don't know whether it was on Carson or whatever, but they were a team.
Yeah, they toured around. I think they might have an album out, but I know that either Tom Dreesen did put a book out about his experiences with Tim and Tom. Yeah, so.
As a matter of fact, sometime today, I'm gonna YouTube that. I want to see if they're on there.
Oh, they're definitely on. Yeah, you'll see some good stuff, and some of it is actually in today's temperature, it still holds up. Like what I mean, and there is a little bit of cringe in it just because of how much we did evolve since then. Yeah. So some of the things that Dreesen says to Tim Reed, it's kind of like, oh God, it's a little cringe. Yeah, there's a few cringy things in there.
Tim and I were together as children. We played ball together, we fished together, we hunted together. We were great friends, and then when I was 9 years old, my dad sold them. All right, okay.
But overall, I think for the time period especially, it helped.
Made sense.
It made sense, and it helped to kind of find laughter through that pain of that era.
Yeah. Wow.
Check me out now. Remember, we brothers. We brothers. In the ghetto.
In the ghetto.
All right. Hey, what's happening, Jive? My main man. Say, look here, baby, this way I catch Big Mac. I got to ease uptown, get me some new rags. A couple fronts, pair of gators. Go check them traps. Do a little night crawling through the hood.
That's out of sight, man. I didn't know you spoke a foreign language.
Yeah, so Tim and
That's
Tom.
a good one.
All right, so moving on to
My turn?
Yes, your turn, Rich.
Okay, how about this comedy team? Very different. And you're not going to think of it as a comedy team. And let's go back to maybe the 40s. Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy.
Ah, great pick. Love it. Yes.
But yet that comedy team was one person. But the characters were so definitive that when they did radio, people actually thought it was two different people sitting in the studio, and he didn't even have the puppet.
Right.
So
yeah, that's right. He started it in radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure now to introduce a young man. What is your name, Sonny?
Edgar Bergen.
Oh, yes, of course, Edgar Bergen. Young man, he will now entertain you with, what are you going to do, Sonny?
Ventriloquism.
Oh, yes, he's going to ventriloquism.
So that's one that I always found interesting. And not only that, any ventriloquists are comedy teams, right? Even to this day, you have Jeff Dunham, right? Wow. Like, think about that.
Because when you write
both parts.
Right, I was going to say that. Yeah, when you write as a ventriloquist, you're writing as a comedy team. You know.
Right, and one is going to be the stooge, and one is the straight man. Did you ever have the honor of seeing Vince D'Antona and George?
Yes, I got to. I seen them a few times live, and they were on my radio show back then too.
Yeah. I think they were probably, especially on Long Island, the most loved, comedy team. He was like the greatest guy in the whole world. I never heard him talk bad about anybody. Even if you tried to get a conversation going bad about somebody, he's like, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
Like give me a little bit, Vince. Comics like to bash other comics.
I'm getting a Woody, yeah, so you're not getting no Woody. Back up, ladies. Oh, stop it.
No, Charlie McCarthy and Edgar Bergen was a genius and at the craft, and also inspired so many twists along the way. But also, looking at him as a comedy duo and the writing, it was right on point. It was right there with all the great comedy teams of its time.
Now, gentlemen, now please, every time you meet, you start bickering. Now, why not, I ask you, why not bury the hatchet?
All right, and I think I know where I'm gonna bury it, too.
You're not too funny since Jerry left, are you?
He had Charlie McCarthy, and he had the other one, the goofy...
Mortimer Snerd?
Yeah.
That was the original of the cartoons, like with the vulture.
Yeah, right.
That was Mortimer Snerd.
I want you to face your audience, and then I want you to smile. Let's try it now, just to be sure we have it right.
Good stuff. So that was number 4. So my number 4...
Right.
I'm going with Cheech and Chong.
Oh my God!
So Cheech and Chong.
I didn't think of them, and I've seen them live at Westbury Music Fair. I'll tell you what they did. But go ahead, tell me.
What I love about Cheech and Chong is that they pushed the counterculture to the forefront, and and they became household names by basically glorifying debauchery in a sense. They said they with sex, drugs, and rock and roll on the comedy stage. As far as I know, they were one of the first to really embrace that and do that and successfully.
But making fun of it, making fun of the stoner and
almost like Archie Bunker made fun of the bigot. They were kind of like they were the joke personified.
Talk it out, man. Kind of grabs you by the boo-boo, don't it?
And I think that also, their early stage shows kind of pushed and shocked audiences a little bit because they were talking about sex and drugs and all that stuff.
Come on, light it up. Let's get Chinese eyes, man.
Looks like a toothpick, man.
No, man, it's just rolled real tight, man. It ain't a toothpick, man.
No, it is a toothpick, man.
No, man, it's just a rolled real tight. It's a toothpick.
Yeah.
But I think the best takeaway from them, and there's so many great things about Cheech and Chong, and I love them from the records to the movies to the stage.
My God.
But
it was our era.
Yeah.
How old were you though? I was like 11 years old.
I was a kid, and I was sneaking around. I remember when Up in Smoke was on Showtime, and my dad was laughing watching it, and me and my brother kind of snuck into behind. He didn't know we were up, and we were kind of watching it in the living room from a distance, and didn't really get the jokes, but we knew it was bad.
What are you doing, man? Sometimes that helps.
But what makes Cheech and Chong for me really incredible is how their characters intertwined. So you got this one stoner kind of dude, and then you got the Mexican guy, and how it just they meshed in a way that nobody except for Cheech and Chong could do Cheech and Chong. You know what I mean? Nobody can ever come close to that magic. And to
Remember
me,
the Big Bamboo? The album had that big
rolling paper
in it.
Yeah,
the rolling paper in it.
I have the record, but I couldn't. You can get it on eBay. They have them with the paper in it, but the ones with the paper are more rare because everybody either used it or smoked it.
Right, cut it up.
Yeah, so you can't find it with the rolling paper.
The best. I remember a scene. You remember the drive-in movie when they went to drive-in movie that the guy's hidden in the trunk?
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they pull up, and the guy's like looking with the flashlight, and he goes, "Yeah, it's just me and him. Like we're together. I mean, we're not together. I mean, like we came together, but we're not together." So funny. The personalities were so funny.
Hey, man, open up!
Who is it?
It's Dave, man, open up!
Dave?
Dave, yeah.
Dave's not here.
All right, so now we're into number 3. Reg, who's your number 3?
How could we not forget about, maybe on your list, the Smothers Brothers?
Yes, the Smothers Brothers.
But you have Dick Smothers, Tommy Smothers. Tommy Smothers, again, was the stooge. I don't know what you call the stooge or the one, but again, he was not stupid. He knew exactly what he was saying. It just came out stupid, I guess.
My old man's a Negro. What do you think about that?
Wait a minute. What do you mean? Hold on. Tommy, I'm afraid you're incorrect.
My old man's a Negro.
He is not a Negro.
You are a fascist.
Chance. I'm not a fascist. You know why? Because my old man is not a Negro.
No wonder Mom always liked you best.
Nothing to do with it.
I grew up watching them as well, and Dick being the straight man. But they were also politically very left. Isn't that what destroyed them? Or
I don't know. Their show was definitely kind of ahead of its time, being political and definitely leaning left, because it was during like the Vietnam era and the civil rights era.
They spoke out against Vietnam War and stuff.
Our government is asking us as citizens, to refrain from traveling to foreign lands.
Okay, all you guys in Vietnam, come on home.
Right. Before it was like popular, I guess is the right way to say it. Like, because their audience, because remember that they were buttoned up guys, suit and ties. They played nice music. They were wholesome. So when they started with this, their audience was starting to become like the more of a right wing type of audience who were like, I love these clean cut kids, And then they flipped the script by going against the Vietnam War, and they started to get more and more radical guests on their show, and they just started steering left.
I can't hear you. What are you doing?
I'm getting ready to go to college.
Yeah.
And that kind of led to a backlash of sorts, but it also led to a new audience that they opened up to, where they enjoyed these guys, these straight-laced guys, with their humor.
It's funny, like as you know, during the pandemic, I used to speak out a lot on my political views, and I would get the private messages from people like, dude, let's stay out of politics, because it's not, I was always funny stuff, or tongue in cheek, a lot of it, but I found that I increased my audience. Like, it's like I found a base, which was weird. But what also is really funny, I found a right-wing base that loves me, and I don't get it. I had a guy come to me New Year's Eve, right before the pandemic, that December, right before, on New Year's Eve, and he even brought me T-shirts that he made, like T-shirts and stuff. And I'm like I'm not really getting, did you see any of my posts? Like, and he always commented like nasty and stuff, but I don't know. He was a good guy, really good guy. But I just thought that was really funny. So I guess, when you're a comedian and you're in a team or you have a platform, especially if you have followers, and they took full advantage, the Smothers Brothers, of what their power actually was.
My old man's a cotton-picking, finger-licking chicken plucker. What do you think about that?
I think you better not make a mistake.
Yeah, and I always commend anybody for standing up for what they believe in and going against the grain in a sense. If it's what you believe in, then I think you should always go, whether it's with the tide or against the tide. If it's what you fully believe in, then I always commend somebody for going all in. And I think that's what they did. But also when you talk about the Smothers Brothers and we talk about straight men and egos, in their case, I think more of the ego had to be on Tommy Smothers for playing such a goofball. Like he played it so dumb, and Dick was the smart one. Where I think in that case, it's reversed. Where Tommy's getting the laughs, but Tommy's also viewed as a moron. You know what I mean? He's got like people don't take him seriously, and I think sometimes the ego could work against you on that side as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
But this wasn't just a fun job. There was dangers in this job as they built the railroads up the mountains and down the mountains and across the deserts and over raging rivers, and they had to span crevices, deep crevices in the ground, and in the bottom of the crevices there was pumas. These just pumas with claws and foam coming out of these pumas' mouths, and the railroad men, they're going, whoa, look at those pumas down there! I'm not gonna build any railroad! Across the crowd, there's pumas in the crevices! There were no pumas in the crevices because we don't have pumas here. There are no pumas in America. Well, maybe some came over to visit.
So for my three, again, there's so many great comedy teams. And,
I never realized how many teams there were until I'm doing this show now.
Yeah,
they keep popping up.
Yeah, exactly. Keep popping up with me too. Like when I was doing this, when I was starting to research this, I was like, oh yeah, this guy, those guys. But I want to mention these guys because they were almost a different genre, but they were a great comedy team nonetheless. And it's Penn.
I know
and
who
Teller.
you're gonna say.
Yeah, Penn and
When
Teller.
you said different genre, go ahead. Who is it?
Penn and Teller. Nice.
They are a great comedy team. And how do they do it where one guy doesn't talk?
To me, that's the genius of it.
Yeah. Did you ever see them live?
I've never seen them live, but like I said, they started coming to fruition when I was a kid, and I used to watch them all the time. And kind of like Cheech and Chong, it was their stage chemistry that really sells it.
He has sworn that he will not breathe again until I find a card selected freely by a member of this audience. I will be able to do that in 3 minutes and 35 seconds, or my partner Teller will die.
You got one guy who's really big, like immensely tall, and another guy who's small.
Boisterous, very. The other guy doesn't have to talk, you know?
Yeah.
It's like really, and it's all facial expression, but then if you look at Teller, there's not a lot of facial expression either. He just is this blank stare, which is so funny. Like, I don't know how they do it. If you ever have a chance in Vegas, go see their show. I don't know which hotel it is, but we went, and they exposed the trick, all the tricks. Like, you know the one with the box, like with the head, and then they put all the pieces together, and now the head is here, and the foot's up there, and the fingers are always wiggling about. Well, they did that, but they did it with glass, so you could see the trick being done.
Wow.
And like they pick up the box, they move the head, but you see Teller going underneath the stage, like across, like on a cart, like a mechanic would have, and like, and then he like pokes his head up like this, and then they close it. He goes down, he goes back like this. But I don't think that was actually the trick being exposed. I think that was their version to fool you into thinking that was how the trick was done. You know?
Yeah.
So much fun, and he talks. You know,
like
after the show, they said we'll be in the lobby, and they talk to everybody. No ego, either guy, no ego, and they talk. They thanked you for coming to the show, and you hear Teller talk. You know,
it blows your mind when you hear him talk.
Working with Penn all these years, what I've discovered is there's something absolutely incredible that happens when you don't talk. You know, everything becomes very intimate because you're looking at them, they're looking at you, and that intimacy is really thrilling to me.
They're always a step ahead, those guys. And I think that's the magician in them. Like you said, when they're showing you the trick, it's like, are they showing us the trick? Or is this all an illusion within an illusion here?
That's right. That's
right. I always like them. I think they, whether their magic is kind of a style similar to like Amazing Jonathan. It's dangerous. It's edgy. It's magic without the David Copperfield style of this and that. It's like a mixture of like street magic with theatrical magic, but it feels effortless the way they do it. And then, you know, to me they're kind of, I don't know if they were the first of their ilk of this kind, like I think they were before the Amazing Jonathan, but to me they're trailblazers in so many ways, and they've broken so many boundaries of magic and comedy.
They mixed the two. So are they comedians or are they magicians? But both. Like it's comedy within a magic show, which is always my favorite kind of magic. You know, we've all seen on the cruise ships the illusion shows, and Siegfried and Roy, good example.
Right, yeah, good team.
But we in 1 week saw Siegfried and Roy and Penn and Teller when we were in Vegas, and it's almost hands down Penn and Teller. That was so much fun, you know, to see them.
Now go ahead. Now you got to pick it up. Let him see it. He's over here. Let him see it. Is that your card, sir? Queen of Hearts.
No.
It really isn't? It really isn't? Now at this point, you're going to remember your card when you finally, oh God!
It's time for number 2. What do you got?
Oh my gosh. What about Ralph Cramden and Alice?
Yes.
Holy crap. You want to talk about standing the test of time.
Yes.
Their chemistry is off the hook. Never worked for me with the other Alices that came in later, you know, like on the specials, you know, the color ones and out of Miami and stuff.
Right, yeah.
There's something about Audrey Meadows being a straight man, but a funny straight man. Like, her sarcasm was so funny. And then his facial expressions. How often does that magic happen on television? It doesn't.
Very rare. And like you said, their chemistry, that whole cast, but the chemistry with Cramden and Alice, you know.
You seem to have forgotten that I am a woman.
I forgot that you're a woman. How could I? You're always yapping.
Ralph and Norton is another team.
They had it, yeah. And you gotta give it up to Gleason for that, because he was able to be, you know, the guy for both of these outlets. And with Norton, you got basically 2 goofy guys that are making it work.
Straighten the right arm, lower the right shoulder. Now you got it, Ralph. Follow through and you can't miss. Swing!
And you know, because he could flip-flop, you know, Cramden. He could be the straight man when he's dealing with Norton to some degree, and then he could also be the funny man when he's dealing with Alice. So he's this...
Well, he was actually the straight man with Norton. I had heard rumors that Jackie Gleason was extremely jealous of Art Carney. Everybody wanted to meet Art Carney. And there's an episode of one of the Lost episodes where Ralph wants to get Jackie Gleason for the lodge to do a show. Did you ever see this one?
No.
Oh my God. And it's in the lobby of a hotel. So what happens is he gets on the elevator, Ralph, to go look for Jackie Gleason. But he comes down as Jackie Gleason, like very pompous, like with the
suit, yeah.
And Norton's like, it's you're Jackie Gleason. He goes, why, yes, I am. And do we know each other? And it was like, but then they reversed it where Norton goes, up, and he comes down as Art Carney, and Jackie Gleason's like, not Jackie, Ralph is going, you're Art Carney, you're the guy from the show. And he goes, but you're funny, but I don't think you're as funny as the other guy. And now they're talking about how unfunny the other ones are. It was so funny. And then like when Norton says he goes, if you ask me, that other guy's the whole show. And they're really digging into each other. That was one of the funniest episodes.
That's awesome. I got to check that out too, man.
Yeah. Talk about great team. That's a great team. Great team. Great writers.
I got one thing that he hasn't got. I got it here.
You got it here. And you got it here. And you got it here.
That's awesome.
Your turn.
I'm going to go for number 2. I'm going to say your boys, Abbott and Costello. Abbott and Costello, to me, are the most famous and iconic of all the other comedy teams. Their chemistry is bar none. And they both knew their roles. Straight man, funny man. And they played off each other so great. It was back in the slapstick era where Abbott could just slap Costello.
Right.
Snap out of it, just like
Another guy gets up and it's a long fly ball to because. Why? I don't know. He's on third, and I don't care. What was that? I said, I don't care. Oh, that's a shortstop.
You know what else? The claim to fame is who's on first, and that really catapulted them. But they have other bits. I don't know if you ever saw, Eric and I Want to Learn It, Jonah and the Whale. Did you ever see this bit?
I may have.
Let me tell you, Jeff Bosey sent it to me. It is so funny. It's Costello comes out and goes, I'm going to tell a joke, and you don't have to do nothing. You just stand there. I'm going to tell the joke. I wrote this joke. It's a great joke. I think it's funny. They're going to love it. And he goes, all right, Lou, tell the story, Lou. And he's like, okay. So you got Jonah, and he's a guy, and he's got this big whale. What kind of whale? And it doesn't matter what kind of whale. It's a big whale. I told you don't say nothing. You just stay there.
Now, this whale was in the ocean. What ocean? What ocean? I think the folks would like to know where this took place, don't you think? Go ahead. Pick out ocean, what I care. That's immaterial to me. All right, the immaterial ocean. Oh, what kind of ocean? Now, the whale was in the immaterial ocean. He was minding his own business, but he was following a ship. What ship? This ship. What ship?
It was this. It's so funny.
That's awesome.
And the punchline is, I'm not going to tell you where it goes, but write it down. Go Jonah and the Whale. It's on YouTube.
Jonah.
And the punchline is great.
Lou, you're not coming out here in front of this intelligent audience. Millions and millions of people listening and watching. You're not coming out and trying to get away with that old wheeze, that old pun about the time they caught the whale and they cut him open and there they found Jonah seated on that stool selling those apples 3 for a nickel, are you? That's not the story you intended to come out here and open up a show with.
And the punchline is silent. It's all in the face of what happens. It's really good. I don't know how that one didn't make him famous because it's that funny, you know? But they also have it. What was the other one? 7 times 12 is 32 or something?
Yeah, the math one, the equation on the board. Yeah, that's great.
So at least they, you know what it is? They just didn't rely on one bit. They made great bits, you know?
7 of the 21. 3 times. 3 times. 7 of the 28. 13 times.
And their personas, they were able to carry that through onto TV and movies. And some of their movies are like legendary. any Abbott and Costello film. Like growing up, we only had the 3 channels, 4 channels, and
Yeah.
it was like Channel 11 or whatever had every Saturday or something of Abbott and Costello movies, and those are some of the greats, man.
Oh yeah, the best. And they reigned from 1950 to 1960, #1 on radio, television, and motion pictures.
Wow.
Now that's quite a feat. They were knocked out in the 60s by another comedy team, and who knocked them off of the platform?
In the 60s? Comedy team, I don't know. Who?
We mentioned them earlier. One of the greatest comedy teams in the 60s overran, that's a good trivia for people at home, Abbott and Costello, bumped them out of the #1 spot.
Was it?
Hey, lady!
Yeah,
Dean Martin, Jerry
Martin and
Lewis.
Lewis. Martin and Lewis, another great comedy team.
We'll be just like brothers, you and I. I'll go east,
I'll go west,
and I'll love you till I die. Oh, what would you do without me? What would you do, boy?
And I heard that they broke up because of Jerry Lewis, who was a perfectionist. Like everything had to be perfect. And that's not how Dean worked. Dean worked off the cuff, He didn't mind rehearsing, but Jerry was too strict.
I can see that too, because Jerry, his serious side is the complete opposite of his stage persona.
Did you ever see Martin Short do Jerry Lewis? But he does all the versions, like lighting is the very serious Jerry. I can't do it. But then he lights the lighter and he's wow!
Also, Abbott and Costello did have a resurgence too. I think, like maybe in the 70s and 80s, and they had the cartoon. Hey, Abbott, and like they resurged. Yeah, they resurged it.
Yes.
So like the stuff is timeless, because like you said, Jonah and the Whale bit, which I'm going to watch later, the Who's on First, these still stand the test of time. They've been around since like the 50s or 40s and 50s.
Yes.
And they're still funny today. And comedy doesn't have a long shelf life normally. So for these guys to have these sketches, these things that still today are quoted, known, and hilarious, that's a testament to them as well.
I want to ask you just one thing.
What?
What makes a balloon go up?
Hot air.
What's holding you down? I pulled a joke.
All right, so now it's the #1. So now it's
#1, perfect timing.
So for me, the #1 comedy duo for me of all time is Laurel and Hardy.
Okay, that was mine.
Okay, cool. So we could both have the same.
Let's talk about this.
Yes.
I remember as a child watching my mother watch Laurel and Hardy in the French Foreign Legion, and with like the drill sergeant going down the line, and Laurel is just and I remember watching her laugh with tears streaming down her face, with what a victim the drill sergeant is,
There's another nice mess you've gotten me into. Yes, ma'am.
But you want to talk about a team that played off each other, and from what I hear, till the day they died, they were best friends. And the only story, and then we'll go to yours, but they said that when Oliver Hardy was on his deathbed, Laurel sat with him every day and every hour, and their own kids, I think it was Stan Laurel's daughter, was saying they never talked to each other. They understood each other from the years and years of silent movies and their characters. They just knew who they didn't have to talk to each other. He would bring him his meal or whatever. Isn't that like something? It's like,
that's awesome. Give me the goosebump test. Just past the goosebump test. Yeah. So to me, Laurel and Hardy are the template for every comedy team that came after them. I feel like they set the standard. Like every comedy duo ever that came after Laurel and Hardy were an evolution of them. Whether it's Abbott and Costello, Martin and Lewis, Fred and Barney, whoever, Burns and Allen, they all derive from Laurel and Hardy.
Agreed.
And I think that when
they were before Abbott and Costello.
They came out in like maybe I don't know the years, the 20s and 30s. And
I mean, you could still
silent
see
film.
the grainy movies that on YouTube and stuff. The piano and silent movies. That's how far back.
Yeah, so they were like 20s and 30s, and Abbott and Costello was like 40s. So they definitely were way before. And to me, when you even today, you'll see Laurel and Hardy-esque sketches, whether it's in a sitcom or it's in other movies. The characteristics are always there. What a fine mess you've gotten us into this time. That whole vibe is there forever. And to me, they set the standard. They're the GOATs, the greatest of all time. And from their movies to everything. And again, it all comes down to what they look like. Like you look at, like we talked about Penn and Teller, how they're opposites. You got the big giant guy, little guy, one talks, one doesn't talk.
Yeah.
With Laurel and Hardy, you got this kind of fat guy, and you got
fat and skinny.
Yeah, and it's this whole thing, and Abbott and Costello kind of had that, and Martin and Lewis kind of had that. The opposites. One was a good-looking crooner, the other was this wacky, clumsy dude.
And you know what else? But Stan Laurel wasn't a talker either. It was always Oliver Hardy who did all the talking.
Right, yeah. That's a good point.
And such famous sketches. The piano, going down the staircase.
Oh, yeah. But let's now, we have our list. Now we have to narrow it down to a final top 5 that we both agree on. Okay.
Okay.
So here's who we have so far. Here's our guys. So we have Sonny and Cher.
Yep.
We have Tim and Tom.
Yep.
We have Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy. Cheech and Chong. The Smothers Brothers. Penn and Teller. Abbott and Costello. Cramden and Alice. And Laurel and Hardy. So we both agree on Laurel and Hardy, and I think we both agree that they're number 1.
Okay, I'm gonna go with that.
So we're gonna put Laurel and Hardy up at the number 1 spot. So now, who do you think else out of this list?
My vote is number 2 because it's a close run with number 1. It has to be Abbott Costello, just based on popularity and history.
I agree, because I think that most people, if you ask anybody, like just who's not a comedy fan, and you ask them right away, who's your favorite comedy team of all time, they're gonna say Abbott.
Their name's coming up.
Right. It's always probably number 1. Most people identify Abbott and Costello before Laurel and Hardy. All right, cool. So Abbott and Costello, I agree with that at number 2.
Okay, number 3.
I'm thinking number 3. Our list right now, Cheech and Chong.
Okay.
Could be on there potentially. Nice. Excellent.
The reason why, that's our generation. They broke a lot of ground and they were hysterical.
So now we have left the Smothers Brothers, Penn and Teller, Tim and Tom, Sonny and Cher, and Edgar Bergen, and Charlie McCarthy.
You forgot one other.
Cramden and Alice.
Well, they're there too. Martin and Lewis.
Oh, yeah. So I'll throw Martin Lewis on there. I don't know if we ever officially added them to the list. Yeah, Martin and Lewis were amazing and we could make an exception and put them in if you think that they deserve over the others. Because I'll put, Martin and Lewis. They were on my short list for sure.
Okay.
In my original top 5, they're on there.
Okay.
So we could definitely talk about put Martin and Lewis into this because they're definitely deserve it. They're one of the greatest comedy teams by far. All right, so and then for number 5, I'm thinking. See, it's tough because there's so many great ones.
Yeah.
But I do like the Penn and Teller. But I think that we've mentioned a lot of these guys how they broke ground, like Tim and Tom and Sonny and Cher, husband and wife, and then Tim and Tom being black and white. But I think Penn and Teller, because of not only just the magic, but their comedy chemistry too, and all of that.
Okay, but now this list is the greatest of all time.
Right.
They may come up on only you and my list.
Right. Yeah.
Because you're not thinking comedy team. You're thinking magicians with great patter or banter, whatever you call it. So I'm not sure about that one. I agree. My choice would have been Rodeo Ricky and Montana. No. But I could go with that. Because you can't deny the talent, and it's original.
Yeah, it's original. It's there, but like you said too, like, are they comedy? Like, so this list. So then we got
So you're going 5 to 1, right? Number 1.
Yeah. So right now we got number 1 is Laurel and Hardy. 2, Abbott and Costello. 3, Cheech and Chong. 4 would be Martin and Lewis. So 5. I'm thinking. We've mentioned.
What's hysterical about that list? Even Cheech and Chong will be going, we're on that list? Like, so funny. But they were great. They were so great.
I also think that you can make a case for Tim and Tom.
Yeah.
But they didn't stand the test of time. They were short-lived, but they did matter. And then the Smothers Brothers, I think, would probably be the best case for the ones we mentioned. The Smothers Brothers would probably be the strongest number 5.
I was never a huge fan of theirs. And I guess as a kid, it's because I didn't really understand them a lot. I just knew one was dopey and one was, clever. But their material didn't really apply to me as a kid. Right. So they're not on my list. But if you like them, we can put them there.
I think, who else? So we had Edgar Bergen.
Stumped at number 5. I mean, how would...
I know.
We went through all these great names. What if we put Penn and Teller at number 5 and move up the list? What do you have, Penn and Teller? Are they on the list?
I took them off and I put in the Smothers.
Oh, that's right.
But so
famous-wise, nobody's going to think of Penn and Teller.
Right.
But we're analyzing this.
Yeah, I think the Smothers Brothers could, like, if you look at this list. So let's just say this is the list. You got Smothers Brothers at 5. At 4, you got Martin and Lewis, which I think Martin and Lewis should go up. I think Martin and Lewis should go to 3. Cheech and Chong go to 4. So we got the Smothers Brothers at 5, Cheech and Chong at 4, Martin and Lewis at 3, Abbott and Costello at 2, and the number 1 comedy duo of all time, Laurel and Hardy.
Perfect.
That's a solid list.
We did it.
We did it. We got a great list, my friend.
Now what do we do with it? We can tell the world.
Yeah, we can tell the world.
Process of elimination.
That's great. That's a great way to end it. What do we do with it? That's awesome. You rock, Rich. I appreciate
Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is a blast, man. Tell everybody where they could find you and follow you and all that good stuff. Yeah.
So you can always go on my Facebook page. I have a website, but I never update it. But if you go on my Facebook page, Rich Walker, and if you have trouble finding me, you can just put Suffolk County. But I always put flyers of all the shows I'm going to be on. I also, if I can mention, I teach Stand-Up University, a comedy class out of the brokerage in Belmore. If anybody's interested in becoming a comedian. Also, if you want to be a team, we will help you and your other comedian friend become a team. We've written a couple of acts like that. So I got one more thing to say. If you go on TikTok, go to The Monty and Walker Show. We only have about 10 clips up, but they're little funny quips. Or also you can go to Monty and Walker Productions and see the full versions with the outtakes and all that stuff, and click on the YouTube link there.
Excellent. Thanks again, my friend. Rich
right,
Walker,
Don.
everybody. Well, there you have it, folks. The top 5 comedy duos, according to me and Rich Walker. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and leave us your top 5 as well. Love to hear it. Well, take care, everybody, and we'll see you again next week for another Top 5.